You know that uniquely frustrating feeling? Like you find the absolute perfect professional to help you.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you need physical therapy for a bad knee, or, maybe your child needs a speech language pathologist.
Right. You finally find them.
Exactly. You get them on the phone, you're eager to get started, and then the receptionist drops those dreaded words. We don't take your insurance.
Ugh. It happens every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
for the patient sitting there with an insurance card in their hand, it just feels like arbitrary gatekeeping.
It really does.
You have coverage, right?
Hmm.
They are a licensed medical professional. The clinic is right down the street. It feels like it should just be a simple transaction.
Right. It's like having a fully loaded gift card to a store that suddenly decided they only accept exact change in quarters.
That is exactly what it feels like.
The resources are there, the need is right there, but the transaction just structurally cannot happen.
Well, welcome to our deep dive. Today, we are peeling back the curtain on those invisible and, frankly, maddening barriers of the healthcare system.
It's a maze. It really is.
Mm.
And we've got our hands on a fascinating industry playbook from Prime Credential. It's from March 2026. And it's titled Credentialing Insights for Cash-Based Therapy Practices Looking to Add Insurance.
Which is such a critical topic right now.
Definitely. It's essentially a behind-the-scenes look at exactly what goes on when a cash-based therapy practice tries to enter the insurance matrix.
And it is a massive undertaking. Like, this playbook lays out the exact administrative labyrinth that physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech-language pathologists have to navigate.
PTs, OTs, and SLPs, basically.
Right, exactly. If they want to cross over from being a private cash-only business into the in-network system, it is not easy.
So our mission today is to help you understand what that leap actually looks like, whether you are a healthcare professional prepping to expand your own clinic or, you're just an insanely curious patient wondering why your favorite therapist is completely out of network.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I promise you, this deep dive is going to completely change how you view your doctor's front office.
It really reframes the whole dynamic. I mean, when a clinic doesn't take your insurance, patients often take it personally.
Oh, for sure. Or they assume the clinic is just greedy.
Right. But the reality is usually about the sheer crushing weight of the process we are about to unpack.
Okay, let's unpack this from the very beginning. Because before we even get into the mountain of paperwork, we have to talk about why these business models exist in the first place.
The cash-only ones, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a wild paradox here. A lot of PTs, OTs, and SLPs actually start their practices as cash-based models intentionally. Like they are actively running away from insurance.
They absolutely are. When a therapist starts a cash-based practice, they are essentially buying their own freedom.
Freedom from the paperwork.
Well, yes, but mostly freedom to actually treat the patient. Think about the reality of working under insurance panels. The insurance company often imposes really heavy restrictions on care.
Like what?
Well, they might dictate that a patient is only allowed, say, 6 physical therapy sessions for a torn rotator cuff.
Even if that's not enough.
Exactly. Even if the therapist, the actual medical expert in the room, knows the patient actually needs 12 sessions to fully recover.
Wow. Or they force the therapist to jump through endless hoops just to get a basic treatment approved.
Exactly. Prior authorizations. Endless documentation proving that the therapy is, quote-unquote, medically necessary.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. The therapist ends up spending more time justifying the treatment to some insurance adjuster than actually providing the treatment to the patient.
So they just say, forget it.
Pretty much.
Mm.
Early on in their careers, many therapists just say, I'm opting out. I want to treat my patients exactly how I see fit without a corporate entity looking over my shoulder.
I get the appeal. I really do. Starting a cash-based clinic is like running a highly exclusive boutique. You make your own rules, you dictate your own services, and you have total creative control.
It's a great setup for the provider.
Right. But here is where I get confused. If they have all this freedom and they've successfully escaped the insurance headache, why on earth would they volunteer to go back into the belly of the beast?
Because the boutique model eventually hits a ceiling. It always does.
How so?
Well, if you are a speech-language pathologist specializing in early childhood interventions, there are only so many families in your immediate area who can afford to just hand you a credit card for weekly $100 sessions.
Oh, right. Your foot traffic is inherently limited.
Exactly.
You're limited to a very specific tax bracket.
Precisely. And let's be real, most people who go into healthcare do it because they want to heal people, not just wealthy people.
That makes total sense.
Right. So eventually, these therapists realize that to truly serve their community, they need to expand into insurance panels. We're talking Medicare, state Medicaid, and the top local commercial insurers.
To reach the people who actually need the help.
Exactly. Doing that is the ultimate key to growing patient access and, frankly, stabilizing their own revenue.
So it bridges that gap. It means the single mother relying on state Medicaid or the retiree living on Medicare can actually walk through the doors and get the high-quality care they need.
Yes. It transforms a niche, exclusive practice into a true community resource. You get consistent patient volume.
Which is great for the business.
Right. And the patients get access to care they otherwise couldn't afford out of pocket.
Okay, so the motivation is totally clear. It is a pivot from exclusivity to accessibility. But as we are about to see, that pivot requires paying a massive toll.
Oh, yes, it does.
A toll in the form of administrative bureaucracy. So let's look at the first giant hurdle. We are entering the alphabet soup of credentialing.
Alphabet soup is putting it mildly. To even begin the process of taking insurance, a therapist must go through credentialing.
Which is what exactly? Let's define that.
Okay, so credentialing is strictly the rigorous process of verifying a provider's qualifications and completing payer enrollment.
Proving you are who you say you are.
Exactly. It is the insurance company deeply checking your background before they ever allow you to bill them a single dime.
Which makes sense on the surface. Like, they aren't just going to take your word for it that you know how to rehabilitate a spinal injury.
Right? You obviously need your current state professional license.
But then we get into the federal requirements, and this is where my eyes just started to glaze over.
It gets dense.
Yeah.
First, you need an NPI. Then, if you are a group practice, you need an EIN or a TANN.
Okay.
And if you are trying to enroll in Medicare Part B, you have to navigate PCOS to submit your CMS 855I form.
Okay, hold on. Time out. You just threw like 6 acronyms at me in 10 seconds.
I know.
Are you telling me a physical therapist has to log into half a dozen different government websites just to prove they exist?
Pretty much, yes. Let's break those down because every single one is a mandatory roadblock.
Okay, hit me.
Let's start with the NPI. That stands for National Provider Identifier. This is completely non-negotiable.
What is it exactly?
It is a unique 10-digit number mandated by a PIA for billing insurance.
So it's basically a social security number, but specifically for medical billing.
That is the perfect way to describe it. You can't even start a conversation with an insurance company without an NPI.
Wow, and where do they even get that?
Therapists have to obtain this through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, specifically through a site called NPPES.
Another acronym. Great.
Right. But once they have it, it becomes their permanent identity within the digital healthcare billing system.
Okay, NPI makes sense. Got it. What was the next one? EIN?
Yes. Employer Identification Number, or sometimes a TIN, which is a taxpayer identification number.
Why do they need that if they have an NPI?
Well, if you are a solo practitioner, you might just use your social security number for taxes. But if you are a group practice, say 3 physical therapists who opened a clinic together, you absolutely need an EIN to enroll in Medicare or Medicaid.
Oh, because the government has to know exactly which tax entity is receiving federal funds.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, and what was that string of numbers you mentioned for Medicare? The CMS something?
The CMS 855I.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Doesn't it? This form is notorious in the industry. If a PT, OT, or SLP in private practice wants to enroll in Medicare Part B, they have to use this very specific form.
Do they just mail it in?
No, they have to submit it through an online federal enrollment system known as PCOS.
I'm exhausted just listening to you list these out. And we haven't even mentioned that state Medicaid programs have entirely separate portals depending on which state you live in.
Yep, 50 different states, 50 different systems.
Plus, according to the guide, you have to gather your DEA license if you prescribe anything, proof of your malpractice insurance, your W-9 tax forms, and a full CV detailing your work history.
It is an immense administrative burden.
It sounds like applying for a mortgage, a passport, and a top-secret security clearance all at the same exact time.
That's incredibly accurate.
I mean, imagine you are an occupational therapist running a busy clinic. You're seeing patients from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening. When exactly are you supposed to navigate the PCOS portal to fill out a CMS 855I?
You do it at night. It basically becomes a second unpaid job.
That's wild.
But there is a system that tries to alleviate at least some of this repetitive data entry. What's fascinating here is how the industry tried to fix this. Have you heard of CAQH?
Yes. The CAQH Universal Portal. Explain how this fits into the puzzle, because reading the text, it sounds like a rare life raft in this ocean of paperwork.
It really is. It acts as a centralized database.
Mhm.
Think about the old days. If you wanted to join 5 different insurance networks, you had to physically mail or fax your resume, your state license, your 10-digit NPI, and your liability insurance to 5 different credentialing committees.
Which is an insane duplication of effort.
Right, so CAQH acts as a universal repository.
Okay.
Providers create one master profile. They enter all their verified information, their education, their work history, and their credentials into this one central hub.
Kind of like the common app for applying to colleges, right? But for medical professionals, you fill out all the tedious background info once.
That is a perfect way to look at it. Once that master profile is built and you legally attest that it's accurate, multiple insurance payers can simply log in.
Oh, so they come to you.
Well, they pull your verified information directly from the CAQH portal. It drastically reduces the duplicate paperwork you have to send.
Okay, so I fill out my CAQH profile, I hit submit, and I'm good to go. Like, I'm in the networks.
Not at all. And this is a huge misconception that a lot of new therapists have.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Building a CAQH profile does not automatically enroll you in any insurance networks. It just centralizes your data.
Oh, man.
You still have to actively seek out and submit individual applications to the specific insurance panels you want to join.
Right, so you still have to knock on every single door. You just don't have to recite your entire life story every time someone opens it. You just point them to your CAQH profile.
Exactly.
So let's say our hypothetical physical therapist does everything right. They sacrifice their weekends, they get their 10-digit NPI, they register their EIN, they log into PICOS and submit the CMS 85555I, they meticulously build their CAQH profile, and they finally submit their application to a major local commercial insurer.
Okay.
The paperwork is in. How long until they can actually see a patient with that insurance? Like, next week?
Not even close.
Mhm.
Welcome to the brutal reality of healthcare administrative timelines.
Oh, boy.
Once the application is submitted, you enter the waiting game.
Right.
And the timelines are just staggering.
How bad are we talking?
When a provider submits their application, the credentialing files take an average of 60 to 90 days just for verification.
Wait. 60 to 90 days.
Yes.
We have supercomputers in our pockets. Algorithms can verify my identity, run my credit, and approve me for a mortgage in 10 minutes. Why is verifying a state medical license taking 3 months?
Because it is not just a software ping. It is an incredibly manual process.
You mean real people are doing this?
Yes. Even with digital portals like CAQH, each private payer has a human credentialing committee. They have to manually verify your licenses against state databases.
Seriously?
Yes. They check national data banks for any past malpractice sanctions or disciplinary actions.
So they are doing a deep dive background check to ensure you are exactly who you say you are and that you haven't been, like, negligent in another state.
Yes. And here is the real kicker that causes so much lag. These credentialing committees might only meet once a month.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
I'm completely serious. Imagine you submit your application, and it takes them 3 weeks to review it. They finally look at it and find that you missed a single checkbox on page 4.
Oh.
So they kick it back to you, you fix the checkbox and resubmit it the very next day. But you just missed the committee's April meeting by 24 hours.
No way.
Yes, your application now sits on a desk in digital purgatory for 29 days until the May meeting.
That is infuriating. So a single missed checkbox can reset the clock by a whole month.
Exactly. Which is why the entire process, from start to finish, commonly drags out to 3 to 6 months per individual payer.
Half a year.
Half a year.
So what does this all mean? Let's clarify something, because the playbook highlights a very specific, frequently asked question that seems to trip up a lot of providers.
Yeah, people get very confused here.
What is the actual difference between credentialing and contracting? Because the way you're describing it, it sounds like you wait your 90 days, the committee gives you a thumbs up, and you're officially taking insurance. But that's not true, is it?
No, it isn't. And distinguishing between these two concepts is vital. Credentialing is strictly the background check.
Okay.
This is the insurance company looking at your diplomas, your NPI, your CAQH profile, and saying, yes, we agree, you are a qualified, safe healthcare provider.
Okay, so I'm qualified. Why can't I bill them?
Because being qualified doesn't mean you have a business arrangement. Contracting is the finish line.
Ah, I see.
Contracting happens only after credentialing approval. It is the actual legal signing of the insurer's participation agreement.
Okay, wait. Let me see if I can make an analogy here. Credentialing is like going to the DMV and proving you know how to drive to get your driver's license.
Right.
But contracting is actually going to the dealership, negotiating the price, and getting the keys to the car.
That is brilliant. Yes, exactly. The contract is the document that legally allows you to be considered in-network. And more importantly, the contract is what dictates your reimbursement rates. It outlines exactly how much the insurance company agrees to pay you for a 30-minute physical therapy session or an hour-long speech evaluation.
Which might not even be a good rate.
Exactly. You are not officially in-network, and you cannot start billing until that contract is signed by both parties.
So you could theoretically spend 90 days getting credentialed, finally get the stamp of approval that you're a great doctor, and then they hand you a contract that pays you less than it costs to keep the lights on in your clinic.
It happens all the time, which is why this 3 to 6 month timeline is so perilous for small businesses. You are in a complete state of limbo.
Yeah, let's talk about that limbo. If I'm waiting 6 months just for a signature, how am I keeping the lights on at my clinic?
It's a huge problem.
I mean, if you are a small cash-based clinic and you decide you want to expand your patient access by taking insurance, you literally cannot survive a 6-month transition period if you just shut down your cash operations. You'd go bankrupt waiting for the mail.
You absolutely would. You cannot just pause your income for half a year while you wait for a committee to review your CMS 855I form.
Right. So what do?
This is where the playbook provides a very clear strategic recommendation. They call it the hybrid model.
The hybrid model. So you mix cash and insurance to preserve flexibility.
Precisely. The guide explicitly advises clinics to keep their existing cash-based services running at full capacity while they go through the credentialing process.
Well, so you don't just flip a switch and suddenly reject direct cash payment.
No, never. If you are a speech-language pathologist, you continue seeing your private pay clients exactly as you always have.
Meanwhile, in the background, you're fighting the administrative war.
Right, and you do it strategically. The guide recommends starting the credentialing process with just 1 or 2 targeted payers.
Not all of them at once.
No, that's a recipe for disaster. Maybe start with Medicare and 1 major regional commercial insurer. You don't try to apply to 15 networks at once.
Because you'd be drowning in paperwork.
Exactly. As those 1 or 2 contracts slowly get approved over the next 3 to 6 months, you slowly begin bringing in those in-network patients alongside your cash patients.
It's like slowly turning a dial rather than flipping a switch.
That's a great way to put it.
You maintain the financial stability of the cash practice for patients who prefer direct pay, while slowly building up the referral volume that comes from being in-network.
Exactly. It's really the only safe way to bridge the gap.
But here is the elephant in the room. Even with a slow, hybrid transition, the administrative burden we just talked about, the NPI, the EIN, the CAQH updates, tracking the monthly committee meetings, following up on missed checkboxes, it's all still there.
Oh, it doesn't go away.
The therapist still has to do it. And that brings us to the actual author of this playbook, Prime Credential. Because we're not just reading an academic essay here, we're looking at a company that exists specifically to solve this exact problem.
Right. Because the reality of healthcare today is that navigating this bureaucracy has become an entire industry unto itself.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is. Prime Credential specializes entirely in helping therapy practices navigate the credentialing and payer enrollment process.
So basically, the system is so convoluted and broken that an entire secondary industry had to be invented just to help medical professionals navigate the primary industry.
That is one very accurate, if slightly cynical way to look at it.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. But for a busy provider, a service like this is a lifeline.
I could see that.
Instead of the occupational therapist staying up until midnight trying to figure out if they checked the right box on their PCOS application, they outsource the headache.
The playbook states that Prime Credential's team prepares the licensure paperwork. They handle obtaining the MPI and EIN. They build and maintain the master CAQH applications.
All the heavy lifting.
Right. But to me, the biggest value add is the tracking. Like, they track the multi-month progress and actually sit on hold doing the follow-up with the insurance panels.
Which saves countless hours. If we connect this to the bigger picture, services like this represent a critical relief valve in the modern medical landscape.
How so?
Well, when a healthcare provider is bogged down by administrative guesswork, they are, by definition, spending less time on patient care.
Right. Every hour on hold with an insurer is an hour not treating a patient.
Exactly. By handing the paperwork over to experts who specialize in knowing exactly when these committees meet and exactly what forms they require, the therapist essentially buys back their own time.
It allows the medical professionals to actually practice medicine rather than practicing bureaucracy.
Beautifully said.
Which brings us all the way back to that frustrated patient sitting by the phone. For you listening, whether you are a provider eyeing that transition to grow your clinic or, a patient just trying to navigate the system to get your knee fixed, the journey from cash to insurance is so much more than a simple yes or no question.
It is a massive undertaking.
Credentialing is this complex 10-digit, 6-month bridge. It requires navigating federal databases, managing universal portals, and surviving massive lag times.
All while trying to run a business.
Right. But ultimately, despite all the headaches, it is the necessary bridge that connects a private K clinic to a much wider, insurance-reliant community.
It certainly is the necessary bridge under the current rules of the game. But looking at all of this information, it leaves us with a rather profound paradox.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Well, the playbook explicitly notes that therapists initially avoid insurance because of its heavy restrictions and administrative burdens.
Right.
Yet, going through the ultimate administrative burden credentialing is touted as the only bridge to expanded patient access.
True.
It raises a fascinating question for you, the listener, to consider.
What's the question?
If the sheer administrative burden of proving you are a qualified professional takes up to 6 months, requires navigating multiple federal portals, and is so complex that it necessitates specialized outsourcing just to get approved, is the current credentialing system actually protecting patients from unqualified providers? Or is it just acting as an administrative bottleneck that keeps the best, most independent therapists out of the networks that need them the most?
Oh, wow. Does the friction protect the house, or does it just keep the guests out in the cold?
Exactly.
That is a brilliant question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you a totally new lens on the invisible machinery of your healthcare. Keep questioning the systems around you, and we'll catch you next time.